Hello everyone, today is 12th of May, now it's 12 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment. Although before I start, let me make a little announcement. Today evening, 9 o'clock Moscow time, I will have a traditional Sunday live stream on my YouTube channel, and I hope you'll find time to join the conversation. If you want to discuss any particular topic, or if you have a question and you want this question to be highlighted, just to make sure that I will not miss question in the chat, you can send your question or comment through Boosty or through PayPal, and I will definitely start Q&A part of the live stream with your question. And also you can send the question or comment through Patreon, by the way. I will monitor during the day all these platforms. So that's been said, let's go through some news now. And first of all, of course, short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield, and main attention worldwide, I will say, is on Kharkiv direction, of course, on the northern part of Kharkiv region, where for last several days Russian armed forces conducting local-scale offensive operations to establish a buffer zone that was announced by high-ranking Russian officials quite a number of times. And according to latest reports, Russian armed forces have some significant progress on borderlines, and according to Defense Ministry of Russian Federation, at least 5 settlements are under full Russian control already. These settlements are Borisovka, Agurtsova, Plitvinovka, Pylnaya, and Strelechia. Although we know how Russian Defense Ministry is operating, it's a quite conservative institution, and only confirms information about Russian control over this area or that area after there is no doubt about it. It always takes time, and therefore we have all the reasons to believe some other sources also that are reporting that Russian armed forces establish control over the dozen of settlements already, not just 5, but over the dozen of settlements. There are several directions for the Russian in this Russian operation. One is western direction. One is the western direction, and another one is eastern direction. Eastern one is closing into Volchansk, biggest settlement in this area. And according to several reports, forward units of Russian armed forces already are inside Volchansk itself, and not just inside the Volchansk, but Russian forces, according to some reports, establish control over the Tikhaya settlement and are inside of Volchansky Khutara, this settlement here, on the eastern side of Volchansk. And if that's the case, then I guess entire this area, by the way, is under Russian control, which makes Volchansk at least in partial encirclement. And because we did not really see during these last several days any more or less organized military operations on the part of Kyiv regime forces, they are withdrawing in a panic, in disarray. It seems like they were completely unprepared for this local-scale Russian offensive operations. Because of it, I would not be surprised at all if Russian armed forces will establish control over their Volchansk in maybe even today or tomorrow. So significant progress of the Russian armed forces in this first stage, initial stage of their offensive operations, simultaneously with the ground operations. Russian long-range artillery, Russian missile forces, Russian air force are operating very actively, and Ukrainian long-range artillery and missile systems have been destroyed in the Kharkiv region. And also, by the way, Russian Su-35 fighter jets scored yet another victory. We have reports that Russian Su Su-35 pilot shot down Ukrainian Su-27 in the Kharkiv region in air-to-air combat. So yes, progress of Russian armed forces seems unstoppable at this point, and there are many experts are raising questions. What happened to these so-called Ukrainian defense lines that were promoted or advertised by Kyiv regime for so long? Just about 2 weeks ago, I remember it was 2 weeks ago approximately, when I reported that according to Kyiv regime, they spent about some $700 to $800 million since the beginning of this year on creating of defense lines in Kharkiv, exactly on the border lines with Russia in Kharkiv region, also in Sumy and Chernigov regions. And according to these initial stages of Russian offensive operations, I mean, we clearly can see that there is no capable defense lines on the part of Kyiv regime. At least for now. At least for now, we did not see any of it. And who knows? Maybe that 700 or 800 million or whatever number is was allocated, whatever sums were allocated to create these defense lines. Maybe that funds were stolen by corrupt officials in Ukraine. It is quite possible, isn't it? Because we all see many videos, by the way, from the area, and Russian armed forces moving forward rapidly, and there is no minefields there, no trenches, no nothing. It seems like Kyiv regime really was completely unprepared for these Russian local-scale offensive operations, despite the fact that Russian high-ranking officials quite a number of times stated previously that it is necessary to create a buffer zone on the Ukrainian side of the border to make sure that residents of the Russian settlements on the Russian side of the border are more secure. But still, Kyiv regime forces did not, or Kyiv regime itself did not pay attention to these statements and didn't really prepared. Or maybe they're just unable to do much at this point. That's also a possibility. But in any case, Russian progress continues. Russian military personnel is establishing control over more and more settlements. Today, in a daily briefing, the Russian Defense Ministry will provide us most likely with additional information about settlements in the Kharkiv region that become under full Russian control, and this buffer zone will further expand, of course. And now I just watched, by the way, a couple of minutes ago, today's update, a morning's update from Military Summary channel, and according to Dima, host of Military Summary, Kyiv regime is deploying now forces to stabilize situation on Kharkiv direction from Chisov Yar, and even from Uglidar direction, by the way, and even from Kherson region. And if this information is correct, and Kyiv regime is forced to redeploy its forces from other sectors of the front line, that's definitely a big deal. That's definitely a big deal, which can be seen as an indicator that little more increasing pressure on Kyiv regime forces on the line of contact, and most likely Kyiv regime will run out of even brigades that can be moved around on the line of contact, and the Kyiv regime will be forced to send to the battlefield whatever strategic reserve it has. If Kyiv regime even has any strategic reserves in its hands. And also, by the way, I just mentioned that Russian high-ranking officials stated several times previously that buffer zone must be created on the border, and we are observing exactly that process right now. Although all the activities at this point happening on the Kharkiv direction, in the Kharkiv region, and I would not be surprised at all. If we will see similar type of Russian operations in Sumy and Chernigov regions in next I don't know, week or two, maybe even today, Russian offensives, local-scale offensive operations will begin in Sumy and Chernigov direction. Who knows? But it does make sense to conduct such operations, to create buffer zone in Sumy and Chernigov regions also, especially now when it is clear, according to reports, that Kiev regime is lacking manpower, so much so that it's forced to withdraw its units from other strategic areas like Chisov Yar, like Ugledar direction, where on Vremovsky salient Russian forces are conducting offensive, local-scale offensive operations also, and from Kherson regions to stabilize situation on Kharkiv direction. Can you imagine what will happen in Kiev to Kiev regime if Russian forces start now local-scale offensive operations to create buffer zone in Sumy and Chernigov region also? That will put so much pressure on Ukrainian armed forces, so-called Ukrainian armed forces. I prefer to call them NATO proxy forces in Ukraine. It will put so much pressure on those NATO proxy forces that they may really collapse in fairly short time, all along the front line. But anyways, at this point, that's information that we have on Russian local-scale offensives to create this buffer zone on the Kharkiv direction. And same time, by the way, battles are continuing on other sectors of the front line also, of course. And we had reports that in Kupiansk direction, for example, Russian forces are activated again in Tabaevka area, and Russian forces are conducting local-scale offensive operations from Tabaevka settlement, which is under full Russian control, of course, towards Berestovo. And maybe in upcoming days we will see Russian offensive operations in this area, Tabaevka, Berestovo, Pischana, and maybe entire this area will become under full Russian control. This is Kupiansk direction, which is of course Kharkiv region also. No reports about some significant changes on the line of contact in Kharkiv, in the Seversk direction, sorry. Main hotspots here still are Belogorovka, of course, and also Razdolovka, Fyodorovka directions. When it comes to Chisov Yar, on the northern flank of Donetsk sector of the front line, many sources are reporting that Russian military personnel began ground operations on the northern part of Canal district, which is located on the eastern side of this irrigation channel. And according to some reports, Russian forces established control over the Dachi areas on the northern side of the Canal district, and even military summary reported today that even inside the residential areas, Russian forces are conducting military operations already. I was a little surprised to hear that because previously there was reports about deployment of significant reserves by Kiev regime towards Chisov Yar, and because of this high concentration of Ukrainian forces in this town, it was quite sensible, logical to, at the first stage, conduct long-range artillery, missile strikes, air strikes on the points of concentration of Kiev regime forces and the military equipment. That's exactly what was happening last couple of weeks, at least. And well, maybe because Kiev regime started withdrawing some forces from Chisov Yar to deploy them into Kharkiv direction, concentration of Ukrainian units are not that high at this point in Chisov Yar, and that may be a reason why Russian forces started ground operations inside the city itself. That's a possibility. But anyways, that's the report that we are getting, that ground offensive has begun towards Chisov Yar. Also, by the way, Avdiivka direction, of course, always active, and at this point Russian forces are conducting offensive operations towards Kalinova, and according to latest reports, entire fields in between Arkhangelskaya and Acheretino, all those fields are become under full under full Russian control. There was reports, by the way, that Russian forces were conducting offensive operations towards Sokol. Some sources even reported that Sokol settlement is under full Russian control, but I did not see any photo or video confirmation of that, and therefore I guess it's early call for this moment, but initiative in any ways, of course, in Russian hands, and the Russian forces are continuing their local scale offensive operations. And of course, southern flank of Donetsk sector, Krasnogorovka settlement. When it comes to Krasnogorovka, several sources reported that Russian armed forces managed to establish control not just over the eastern part of Krasnogorovka, but also over the central part of this settlement where this park is located. And if that's true, if that's correct information, I did not see any video confirmation of that, but many sources are reporting it, and if it's true, then I guess battle for Krasnogorovka is almost finished at this point, because I don't think Kiev regime units will be able to hold on to their defensive positions in this residential area on the northern western part for long. It's just not possible. Most likely in about weeks time, maybe even earlier, Russian units will establish full control over the Krasnogorovka. Also, we have reports about Russian progress in Vremyevsky salient area. In Vremyevsky salient area, Staraya Mayorskaya, Urajayная settlements, of course, are main direction of Russian local scale offensive operations, and in both settlements, Russian armed forces established foothold as a result of offensive operations. And also, we receive information that some sources are reporting that Russian military personnel is conducting offensive operations in Orekhov bridgehead, on the eastern part of Orekhov bridgehead, and Kiev regime also conducted local scale offensive operations in Rabotina direction, although Kiev regime forces were their offensive was repelled. Rabotina formally is still disputed between the sides. I guess in some areas of the Rabotina, some small groups of Kiev regime forces still are maintaining some foothold. Although in general, I will say battle for Rabotina is finished. This settlement is 90% under Russian control, and I guess I don't know, man. It will take maybe day, maybe two, maybe I don't know. Maybe a little more, and the Russian Defense Ministry finally will report that Rabotina is under full Russian control once again. And this is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. I remind you, dear friends, that military channels are providing much greater volume of information on this local scale skirmishes, artillery duels, drone wars, and developments on the line of contact in general. And of course, if you want to learn some more information about the situation on the front line, I recommend military channels, including Military Summary, by the way, one of the biggest channels that there is. And if by chance you are not familiar with military channels, under this video, in the description box, I have a recommendation list that I follow, and you can find there at least several links to military channels, different military channels. That's been said, let's continue with some additional news. And I already reported, by the way, that Russian Defense Ministry confirmed the establishment of the control or liberation of the 5 settlements in Kharkiv direction. Borisovka, Огурцово, Pletenovka, Pыльная, Strelechia. Although, according to number of sources, much more settlements are under Russian control in reality, and today the Defense Ministry probably will update us on this matter. RIA Novosti is also reporting that Russian air defense systems during the night time shut down 2 Ukrainian .U tactical missiles over the Belgorod region. No reports about casualties on the ground where these fragments of those intercepted missiles fell down. RIA Novosti is also reporting that according to pro-Russian underground in the Kharkiv region or pro-Russian partisans, Russian Air Force conducted precise strike on a point of concentration of Kiev regime forces in Chuguev, in city of Chuguev. I guess during this redeployment of troops from different sectors of the front line towards the Kharkiv region, one of the point of concentration of those troops, Kiev regime forces, was Chuguev city, and Russian military intelligence find out about this location, and then Air Force was called in and strikes were conducted. According to pro-Russian partisans, Kiev regime suffered significant losses in manpower and military equipment as a result of these strikes. Also, by the way, RT is reporting that Kiev regime and their Western masters, under the desperation, are now threatening Ukrainian society with the full-scale mobilization. And let's go through this news here. The entire Ukrainian society would need to make sacrifices and target and forget about their peaceful lives to defend to defeat such an enemy as Russia. Defense Ministry spokesman of in Kiev, Dmitry Lazutkin, has argued, and then quote, globally speaking, starting on the May 18, when the mobilization law, new mobilization law, by the way, that was adopted by Ukrainian so-called parliament just recently. So, globally speaking, starting on May 18, when the mobilization law came into force, first of all, the approach to this war will change, Lazutkin told Espresso TV, Ukrainian propaganda outlet, on Saturday. Because this situation, when some people are fighting at the front line while others are living their quiet lives, is obviously coming to an end. Life in Kiev is strikingly different from the situation in the east of the country, which is abnormal according to this official. If it would be normal if our enemy was weak, but with such an enemy, the whole country and the whole society need to mobilize, according to Lazutkin. So yes, they are openly threatening that everybody in Ukraine, that basically they will be sacrificed, and they are open about it. I mean, they are saying that sacrifices has to be made, so they will sacrifice everybody. By the way, as I said many times before, Zelensky and his criminal associates and their Western masters, evil ruling class of the West, will sacrifice everybody in Ukraine for their geopolitical agenda. And at this point, these so-called high-ranking officials in Ukraine are basically quite openly saying exactly that they will sacrifice them all citizens of Ukraine. So, well, one should expect even further increase of kidnappings on the streets of cities and villages of Ukraine, and for process of forceful mobilization. Tens of thousands of people probably will be kidnapped that way and forcefully mobilized, if not hundreds of thousands. Although, by the way, several sources for quite a while now are reporting that Ukraine's mobilization resources are basically exhausted. Significant number of military age males are outside of Ukraine, and inside the Ukraine, by the way, there are strategic segments of their economy where military age males are working, but if they will get mobilized, in that case, entire sectors of the Ukraine's economy will collapse, including, by the way, infrastructure, transportation, energy sector. And all these segments already are experiencing immense difficulties. So who knows, maybe Kiev regime, out of desperation, will start now forcefully mobilizing people from those strategic areas. Also, that's possibility. That's definitely a possibility. And by the way, to highlight that Kiev regime don't really cares about citizens of Ukraine and don't even counts or keeps information about who been mobilized, when, what happened to this person. This information, by the way, on the Lenta.ru, according to which, and this information based on article in Strana.ua, by the way, Ukrainian media outlet. Sometimes even some Ukrainian sources are getting outraged by this craziness that is happening in Ukraine. And well, in this article you can read that in Ukraine later to go to enlistment office, enlistment basically was sent to a person that already was forcefully mobilized earlier, was sent to the front line, and was injured, lost legs, both legs, and this person received this later about mobilization, that he's mobilized and supposed to arrive in the enlistment office. Can you imagine the level of craziness that happening in Kyiv regime? They truly don't care about their own citizens. They have no information who was mobilized when, what happened to this person, and that's the only explanation for such a stories, when a person that already was mobilized, and they should supposed to be information about it in the data centers of the enlistment offices. Person who was wounded on the battlefield and lost his legs and was then medically treated, and information of course also has to be kept about that in a database. This person received a letter about being mobilized, so that means that no one really cared to keep information about this person, isn't it? They just did not knew that this person already was mobilized and wounded, and so on. And can you imagine how many people are in Ukraine like that? Kyiv regime probably have no idea how many people they mobilized forcefully, how many of them was already sacrificed on the battlefield, how many was wounded. They just don't know, and they don't care. It's just clear, by the way. It's just too clear. Anyway, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that, well, in Europe, by the way, topic of deportation of the Ukrainian military age male refugees is becoming more and more active. And German's Chancellor Scholz commented on this issue and said that Ukrainian male refugees that are military age but are working right now officially in Germany would not be sent to Ukraine to get sacrificed basically for geopolitical agenda of the West. Although, by the way, maybe Scholz didn't realize that while saying this, that Ukrainian male military age male refugees that are working would not be sent to Ukraine, he obviously also said that ones that are not officially working will be sent them, because otherwise he will say none of them will be sent back to Ukraine. But he didn't say that. He said that ones that are working officially would not be sent, and ones that are, which indicates that ones that are not working will be sent. And eventually, I'm quite sure, all of them will be sent to Ukraine to get sacrificed, by the way. All military age Ukrainian male refugees most likely are under risk to be deported into Ukraine and then to get forcefully mobilized and sacrificed for geopolitical agenda of the West. And if those people, by the way, and in Germany there are more than 1 million refugees from Ukraine, in Poland about 1 million refugees from Ukraine, if not more. And there are hundreds of thousands of in other EU member states also. And if those people, at least military age males, have opportunity to flee EU, they should do it right now. They should do it right now before before Brussels and EU member states did come up with some legal basement on which those people will be deported. And it's only a matter of time, and Brussels and EU member states will come up with the legal means to deport all of them. It's only a matter of time, by the way. If those people never committed any crime against Russia, those Ukrainian refugees can try to come to Russia. If they never committed crime against Russia, they will be allowed, I guess, to enter Russian territory, and they will definitely not be forcefully sent to Ukraine or deported, that's for sure. But I don't know, will they came to Russia? Maybe they are under propaganda influence of the West, and will they came here? I don't know. That will make sense, because Russia will definitely don't send them to Ukraine. RT is reporting, by the way, RT is reporting that, Nuland once again spoke about Ukraine. Victoria Nuland, one of the individuals that are definitely to be blamed for everything that happened to Ukraine since 2014, when US, EU and NATO basically conducted this operation to overthrow democratically elected president of Ukraine, Yanukovych. I don't have anything good to say about Yanukovych, by the way, but he was democratically elected president of Ukraine, like it or not, and he was overthrown by US, EU and NATO, by their secret services and their puppets in Ukraine, and then we know what happened to Ukraine, isn't it? And she is still trying to be, somewhat relevant and commenting on these matters of Ukraine. And let's go through this information. For example, according to her, Ukraine has never been in a position to get a favorable settlement to end their enduring conflict with Russia, and so Washington has never actually encouraged Kiev to negotiate with Moscow. Former US Undersecretary of the State for Political Affairs and the former acting Deputy Secretary of the State, Victoria Nuland, has claimed, and well, she is so wrong, isn't it? She is lying. She is openly lying, by the way, because we all know already that in 2022, during the negotiations between Moscow and Kiev that took place in Turkey, in Istanbul, Russia was demanding so little, by the way, from Kiev regime. Protection of the Russian speakers, protection of the rights and respect of the rights of the Russian speakers, protection of the Russian language, and neutrality of Ukraine. That's what was demands, major demands from Russian side, isn't it? During the negotiations, there was discussion about what type of army, how big of an army Kiev regime supposed to have, and some details there. But everyone agrees now. Everyone who knows about that negotiations, everyone is saying that Kiev was in a unique opportunity to basically end confrontation, and the Russian side was not demanding much, really. But we know what happened then, isn't it? So Kiev received favorable proposal from the Russian side. So Nuland is definitely lying. Definitely. Maybe she wants to downgrade her involvement in all those horrors that happened to, or her responsibility for those horrors that happened to Ukrainian society and Ukraine, because of her and that overthrowing of the Yanukovych's government. Maybe she realizing that she's wow, she's responsible for death of the so many people, and it scares her now. You know, people say, even atheists, by the way, closer to the end of the life, are starting to looking for a God, you know, and maybe Nuland is undergoing some process of that kind. I don't know, because I mean, she's gonna burn in hell, by the way, and everyone that was involved in that overthrowing of the Yanukovych's government, because all that bloodshed and destruction that happened to Ukraine is on their hands. But anyways, you know, she's lying, by the way. I just wanted to highlight that she's definitely lying. In 2022, Russia was not demanding much, only basic stuff, neutrality, protection of the rights of the Russian speakers and the Russian language. I mean, this is so basic, isn't it? But we all know what happened, isn't it? Western ruling class sent their puppets, like Boris Johnson, at the time Prime Minister of UK. Also from State Department were sent some individuals to Kiev, and they managed successfully to derail peace talks between Moscow and Kiev. And we all know what happened next. Let's continue, and we have RIA Novosti's report here that a number of MPs in Bundestag, German parliament, come up with initiative that NATO's air defense system should get engaged in destruction of or interception of the Russian missiles over the Ukraine. Yet another attempt to lay down grounds for deployment of NATO troops to the Ukraine. In this particular proposal, these German MPs were saying that NATO air defense systems have not have to be deployed inside the Ukraine itself. They can operate from the bordering regions of the NATO member states, and theoretically that's a possibility. But from Poland, you're not gonna protect Kiev regime's forces in Kharkiv region, isn't it, from the missiles, or in Zaporozhye region. It's just not happening. But Patriots are just not that capable air defense systems, by the way. They are good, but not great air defense systems. Let's be clear about it. And their range is quite limited, range of operations. But in any case, I see this proposal that gained some attraction in the Bundestag, by the way, according to reports, and some support. This initiative of the German lawmakers can be seen also as a preparation of the ground for deployment of NATO troops into Western Ukraine. When this failed state, Ukraine, will finally start undergoing this general change, which is full-scale disintegration. And you know my take on this on that topic. I believe as a result of full-scale disintegration, western regions of Ukraine will become under control of NATO or collective West, and the rest of the Ukraine will be liberated by Russia, basically. Although, of course, I'm always leaving slight chance that Kiev and surrounding areas will remain as a landlocked quasi-state under the name of Ukraine on the political map, but just a slight chance. Vast majority of the regions of the modern Ukraine will be liberated by Russian forces, from Kharkiv to Odessa region, that's for sure. And western regions will end up under control of Kiev, under control of NATO, and maybe these kind of initiatives are probes. You know, they are just probing the ground, and they will start probably lay down the legal means, basement for deployment of the NATO troops into Western Ukraine at some point. And then, of course, once NATO troops will be deployed into Western Ukraine, it is logical that NATO will try to establish no-fly zone over the Western Ukraine, and not just by air defense systems, but also with their air force and so on. So work, I see this information as a indicator that West, collective West, is basically preparing to occupy Western Ukraine. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that according to Russian Defense Ministry, Russian forces destroyed yet another Patriot air defense system of the Kyiv regime. Great news, great news. I don't know how many Patriots Kyiv regime has left. Patriots or IRST air defense systems, but not that many. Not that many, I guess, at this point. RIA Novosti is also reporting that head of Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, Sergei Narishkin, did not rule out during the interview with one of the Russian TV channels that he might have a conversation, he might have talks with the director of the CIA in near future. Quite interesting news, in my opinion, because it is good to know that despite degradation of the relationships between Moscow and Washington, between Moscow and the collective West, ruling class of the collective West, there are some means of communication still open, at least between intelligence services of the two sides, so that theoretically, at least, it will be possible to avoid, by means of communication, to avoid full-scale confrontation between Russia and NATO, between Russia and US, and maybe even to de-escalate. Who knows? But it's good to note that there is some means of communication still open between the sides. And also, by the way, when it comes to meeting itself, one may wonder what topics they're gonna discuss. First topic, of course, gonna be how to avoid full-scale confrontation between Russia and US, because we all understand that in case of full-scale war between Russia and US, world is finished. That's it. World is finished. No winners. Just everyone will lose, and human civilization most likely will end. So it is understandable that heads of intelligence services will work on that topic to avoid this level of escalation between the sides, and also probably they might discuss topic of future of Ukraine. I mean, how modern Ukraine will be disintegrated, and how sides will manage this process so that there will be no, at least, large-scale confrontations between the sides on the ground during this process of full-scale disintegration of Ukraine, because it is highly likely that at least some local level skirmishes will take place anyways between Russian and NATO forces. Because of some misunderstanding, because of things happen during the large-scale confrontations, and in a smaller scale, some skirmishes will not provoke a full-scale conflict between the sides, while large-scale confrontation definitely can provoke one. So this topic definitely will be one that sides will discuss, I guess. And maybe sides will exchange opinions about cooperation on fight against some extremist forces worldwide. It is also a way to go forward, because I believe all countries, despite the level of their relationships, all countries should support each other when it comes to fight against evil forces, extremist forces. Unfortunately, Western world is run by evil forces, man. Western ruling class is an evil force, and I mean that's objective reality that rest of the world is facing and have to deal with. But it is what it is. RT is reporting, by the way, that Musk made yet another very strong statement about some political stuff. And according to him, 2024 elections in US likely their last to be decided by US citizens. And he definitely has a point in this, because I mean, let's go through the news. There continuing influx of illegal immigrants into US could mean that American citizens could cease to decide the outcome of elections in the country in the not too distant future. Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has predicted. The South African born billionaire claimed that the Democrats are willingly refusing to address the issue in the hope of skewing the balance in their favor going forward. Musk's recent comments came in response to Republican lawmakers passing the Equal Representation Act in the House of Representatives on Wednesday, which would require their Census Bureau to ask respondents about their citizenship in its 10-year service. GOP representatives want only US citizens to be counted when determining their number of congressional seats in each state. Speaker Mike Johnson argued that, and then quote, "We should not reward states and the cities that violate federal immigration laws and maintain sanctuary policies with their increased congressional representation." So, yes, this is a big issue, by the way. This is a big issue. According to US political system and election system, states that have a bigger population have more representatives, as I understand, in House. And therefore, states that are run by Democrats, they are all for more and more illegal migrants, because those numbers are counts. And well, Republicans are trying to tackle this issue. I'm not quite sure they will succeed, because some states, by the way, as far as I know, even not ruling out that illegal migrants will vote during the elections. And if that's the case, then Elon Musk definitely has a point. These elections probably last ones when US citizens will choose among candidates that were presented to them by deep state and the true rulers of the West. Today it's three candidates, although there is one can be seen as a major one: Trump, Biden, that still possibly major candidate because he's candidate from the Democrats, and Kennedy, by the way. He's also quite popular, although I don't know if he has any chances to achieve victory. But most likely this is last elections when US citizens got to decide who from which to decide who will be the president of the US, for example, from candidates that initially was presented to them by deep state and the ruling class. Because eventually, even now, they are not really choosing much, or not really influencing much, because all those candidates, by the way, Trump, is he independent really? Come on, man. Come on. No, he is not. He's definitely have been chosen by certain forces. Biden, he barely can understand who he is, man. You know, there's not even need to explain anything in that case. So it was always like that, I guess. At least in last 100 years, that deep state is giving names to the public, and whoever will be chosen by public, eventually deep state or true rulers of their Western world, whatever clans and families they are winning anyways. And that's why US policies never change, by the way. Democrats or Republicans are in office in the White House, US policies in general stays the same. It's interesting, isn't it? Anyways, Musk definitely has a point that among puppets, by the way, among puppets of the Western ruling class, this year in 2024, US citizens probably last time will choose one among puppets, because none of the candidates there are really independent, man. And I mean, supporters of the Biden among our community or supporters of the Kennedy or Trump may argue and say that no, you are wrong. In reality, I mean, Biden is independent, Trump is independent, or Kennedy is independent, but I don't know, man. I don't buy that. I just see it differently, you know. And same goes for Europe also, by the way. Vast majority of the European states are also controlled by shadow forces, and people there also are presented with the puppets, and you know, they have option then to choose one of the puppets, and these shadow rulers are winning anyways, no matter who you're gonna choose. But anyways, man, we all know this stuff. Man. This is you know. RIA Novosti is reporting that well, Maria Zakharova, by the way, official representative of the Russian Foreign Ministry, commented on Eurovision. I was a little surprised to see this comment, because I did not know she's paying attention to this event. I certainly don't. I don't really care about Eurovision, but she made a comment, by the way, and let's quite strong comment, and let me share with you this comment of her. So the official representative of the Russian Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova, called what was happening in the Eurovision music competition a funeral for the Western Europe. Eurovision 2024 has surpassed any orgy, coven, or ritual sacrilege. Funerals in the Western Europe are taking place as usual, or funerals of the Western Europe are taking place as usual. No surprises, she wrote on the Telegram channel. The Eurovision 2024 final took place on Saturday in Malmö, Sweden. The winner was a representative of Switzerland, singer Nemo Mettler, known under the pseudonym Nemo, who performs the song The Code. Well, I have no idea who won what on that Eurovision, but this is, by the way, I mean, take a look at this picture, man. I mean, if this is the type of people that were represented in general and promoted on that Eurovision, man, I can understand why Maria Zakharova said that this is a funeral for the Western Europe, for the you know, continental Europe in general, or for the Europe in general, with few exceptions, I will say, because I mean, moral degradation is celebrated, by the way, in the West, in the collective West, unfortunately, for quite a long time now, and it seems like this process will continue, and I don't know, man. I just don't understand how Western societies are keeping up with this craziness, man. This disgrace, total disgrace, man. Disgraceful individuals are promoted, and people that are mentally sick, by the way, and need some medical treatment have been celebrated and presented as a normal stuff. It's not normal, for God's sake. Those people need some medical assistance, and if you are a good human being, then say so, that these people are sick, they need medical support, if you really care. But don't say that this craziness is normal, because it is not. I mean, If you say that in West, by the way, probably you will lose your job, you will lose your business, you're gonna be cancelled. Yes, that's cancel culture, isn't it? You're gonna get cancelled straight away. Crazy, man, crazy. So I don't know, man. I don't know. That's sad, man. Really sad to see this moral degradation on certain groups in the collective West. It's just really unpleasant to see, by the way. But it is what it is, man. I can only hope that at some point, this healthy part of the Western societies will finally say enough is enough, and they will act on it. Let's hope so. It will be good for them. It will be good for everybody, man. Because I don't think anybody is happy to see this craziness in the Western world, man. It's just, sickening, crazy, man. Anyways, still quite long update, by the way, update, but hopefully you will find this update interesting and informative and useful, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. This is the only way we can influence algorithm, likes and comments to reach wider audience. Sometimes we are successful, thanks to you, dear friends, thanks to your support. Sometimes we are successful to influence algorithm. Usually we are not so, because if I make some crazy headline, by the way, if I was some anti-Russian element, whatever nonsense I will say in my updates, it will be promoted by algorithm. It will have tens of thousands and possibly hundreds of thousands of views, by the way. Recently I spoke about this topic, and it was yesterday I saw a video on YouTube, by the way. It was promoted by YouTube. That's why I see that video, because I'm not subscribed to that channel. I never see that channel before. Why YouTube is showing me that video? And the headline was, you know what, Kyiv regime, Ukraine conducted successful strike in center of the Moscow. That was a headline, by the way. Total nonsense, total garbage, and it has about 90,000 views. That crazy, that lie, by the way, pure lie, nonsense, had 90,000 views. It is what it is. So that's why if you see these anti-Russian channels, by the way, with big numbers, you should know that this is all fake numbers, by the way. This is all fake numbers, inflated numbers from by YouTube's algorithm itself. But if you are real, if you are doing real journalism, trying to do your best to inform public, then YouTube's algorithm not gonna like you, and you're gonna get suppressed. And that's what's happening with my channel, by the way. We are on the shadow ban, and sometimes, thanks to you, your likes and comments, we are managing to influence algorithm and get in the recommendations, and sometimes not. Anyways, for very same reason, by the way, to deal with the algorithm, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on any of the platforms that you are actively using. And finally, if you think this channel is interesting and useful and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, on which, by the way, I have regular, extra content on regular basis. Like yesterday, I uploaded video from Victory Park from Moscow, where this trophy military equipment is on display. And yes, what else, man? This evening, 9 o'clock. This evening, 9 o'clock, live stream. I will have live stream on my YouTube channel. I hope you will find time to join the conversation. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.